Good morning everyone, welcome to a new update of me, Michael. I'm providing daily updates on this channel, so if you're not a subscriber yet, subscribe to the channel and like this video, that's helping me a lot. What's happening to the markets? It's completely crazy as we see that there's a shift in momentum. Tesla triggered a new period in our cycle. Dan Held actually called it a super cycle, in which we're going to see mass adoption, through which making valuations of a .com comparable bubble of 10 to 15 trillion is not something to be unexpected. So we could see a further run of crypto in the coming years to 10 to 15 trillion, in which this cycle will be a super cycle and the market will get mass adoption, just similar as the .com bubble. I think we're in that phase finally, and probably many people will become very rich, but also hopefully the society will become more decentralized and be more, balanced, rather than what we have right now with all the big guys deciding what has to be happening for the small ones. So what do we see on Bitcoin here? I've been discussing this heavily in the previous video from last night. Flip of 38k, after which a renewed test and news of Tesla made the price break through this final resistance and hurdle, through which we see an expansion to the upside. And I'm going to use the Fibonacci here, which gives us targets at 50k, the first one. And we're getting there, which means that we're not in an entry zone. I've discussed it in the update last night. Bitcoin is just not an entry zone. If you want to get an entry, those flips are the entry points that you want to seek for. And given the 4-hour time frame, as long as Bitcoin remains above this resistance zone between 14.5 to 41, everything is fine and we can continue grinding, which we see. So what is an entry point on day trading, which is probably more interesting for you guys to watch rather than what we can see on the higher time frames. The higher time frames looking like bullish, right? Very, very bullish. And there will be a period of consolidation. Question mark is when. If we get it to the 30-minute time frame, we can see that we've got some levels to watch. First of all, we've got this support here that has to hold. If that holds, the critical resistance zone is found here at 47.1. If that breaks, a new impulse wave towards 50k has to start. So that's your first entry point. And the second point of interest is this block here, which might be screwed, and then we're passing on towards the next one. But I'll be looking at potential entry points here in this region around 44k. If this level is lost, I'm looking for the buy in this area for a new bounce up, and then we're looking at TPs in these two zones as I just described as well. So then the TP zone is 45.5 and 47.1. If that is lost, we're definitely looking at this range. But that is some smaller time frame levels to watch on this one in general. Where are you? There you are. So if we compare this with the chart of Ethereum, and we have discussed this as well, the critical area to hold was this region here around the gray box, right? And we see that it overshot a little, but the critical level was this gray box, and we see that it's holding. From there on, I wanted to see a clear break above this level that we see here. If we couldn't break through it, we were likely going to get the scenario that I just made. However, we broke through this resistance zone and this previous high, and we see continuation in which we took the liquidity above the recent high at 1770 and made a new all-time high. Not really convincing candle. So what you want to see is that the price of Ethereum is going to sustain support above this area. So you want to see it sustain above 1690. If that happens, we are on the road towards 2k. If 1690 is lost, you're going to look at 1530, that range, the gray box again. And then the question will become whether we can break through 1690, yes or no. So those are the critical levels to watch for Ethereum, in which we can see continuation. But then I've asked something on Twitter last night. Are Elrond and Luna an entry here? Not whether you should be holding it, but just simply whether it's an entry. 40% said yes, and I've asked it yesterday at 10:50 p.m. 40% says yes, and 60% says no. So when we put up Luna, we can see that I've asked it in this candle. In this candle. Actually, it's in this candle. So I'll just make it a 1 hour. I've asked it here. And 40% says yes, it's an entry zone. Eagled, I've asked it in this candle, I guess. Where is it? Here we are. 40% said yes, but then I have to zoom out and you can see what type of answer you should be giving. Yes, if you are going to look for day trades in this region and you're going to take an entry there, the chances are that you're getting wrecked very fast. So defining levels on those two are done through higher time frames to lower time frames. I've been repeating that over and over again. So what you see in this upwards run of Luna is that based on the daily time frame, there's literally one level or one area to watch for potential entries on a daily. Then you're going to zoom in towards the 4 hour time frame, and then you can spot a different or at least two additional levels. This is a lower time frame zone in which you see an OB and compression. This is the final candle before it started to accelerate, including some compression as well. Then the 1 hour time frame, you can see that there is additional area here in which we already granted a support, or at least a test, right? So we got a test in this region which granted us a day trade opportunity, and which gave us an entry towards this resistance for about 20%. Next you see confluence here around the 1 hour. So if we lose this gray box, this area here, you're going to look at longs in this region towards here, which can grant you 60%, or in the aggressive way 40%. Those are entry points. Here it's not an entry point. Similarly with Eagled, that one is accelerating heavily. But if we're going to look at the daily time frame, there's literally a level, probably also on the 4 hour here, and we've got the levels around this region here, way below. Probably it's going to be swing trade long entries. We can see the 4 hour here in which we have another nice entry zone. We can say that we've got one here, bit difficult chart to read, but we do have it. Right now we don't have any entry point on a 4 hour on the higher time frames. So we can see 1 hour, nothing further at all. We do have an additional level, we do have this level, so that's all cool. Based on the 1 hour, we might be getting an entry here, or we might be looking at a potential wick towards this level here. Then even smaller, 15 minutes, we can finally start spotting some levels. So flipping this level here made you a trigger. This is a trigger, this is probably just an impulse trigger. But over here we can see an entry point. So if Elrond makes this drop, that is granting you an entry. If this is lost, we are looking at any of these zones here as potential entry points. Right now, it's simply not an entry point unless you want to DCA for investment opportunities, but then I assume that there are better entries still. But if you want to have it for investments, then you want to start scalping this, or at least DCAing this into the positions for the coming period. But if you want to day trade, you have to use those different time frames to start accumulating your position. So I hope you like this video. I'll be back tomorrow with a new one, and I wish you a wonderful day.